So in this video, we're going to work from the body, from the head all the way down to the toes. We're going to work the main body areas just so that after the session today, you feel like you've been lengthened, that we've strengthened, and that you've just got a little bit more mobility, you're moving a little bit more freely. Now, before I start, I just want to say, you don't have to have a yoga mat or this sort of setup. This is just the setup that I have, so it just makes sense for me to use it. If you want a little bit of cushioning when we come to doing some of our floor exercises when we're down on our fronts, more than welcome to use a towel, but you just want to make sure that you've got a space that you can kind of reach your arms out. That's all you really need. So first of all, you're going to sit however's comfortable. So you don't have to sit crossed legs, you can have your legs out straight, you can stay in the kneeling position that I was just in. Again, I just tend to sit crossed legged. It's just a habit that I have, it's just something that I do. So yes, this is the position that I'm going to be in, and we're just going to start working with the neck and the shoulders. So first of all, lift the spine tall, but try not to flare through the rib cage. You want to keep your ribs and your hips slightly tucked towards each other. You're lengthening through the very crown of the head. Squeeze the shoulder blades towards each other, and you're just going to look over your shoulder from one way to the other. So not the most exciting exercises that you can do, but they're just a really good way of just tapping into the body, working into those areas that we just tend to hold a little bit more tightness. And as you move one way, you want to make sure that the opposite shoulder doesn't creep forward. So you're not rotating through the spine. So you'll notice that my shoulders are staying nice and still. I'm just using that rotation, that twisting from my neck. And as you rotate, just notice if you try and drop your shoulder down, sorry, your chin towards your shoulder, you want to keep your chin in that same line as you move from one side to the other. We're just going to do one more each way. And then we're going to come back to center, and then we're going to drop the ear to the shoulder. Now, the goal isn't to get the ear all the way down to the shoulder. We're just trying to use our head, the weight of our head, to stretch through the side of the neck. So it's really important here that you still engage through the upper back, so you're squeezing those shoulder blades towards each other. You're just allowing your head to fall from one side to the other. Now, as you next drop your head over to the right, I just want you to hold it here. So you might find that the opposite shoulder, your left shoulder, starts creeping forward. I want you to pull that shoulder back. So this is just an opportunity to undo any rounding of the shoulders. And you might feel that that right shoulder wants to creep up, but I want you to try and pull it down so the shoulders stay as level as they possibly can be. Now, just to encourage a little bit more of a stretching, you don't have to do this. This might be more than enough for you now. But if you do want that added stretch, what I want you to do is just walk the left fingertips away. It doesn't have to be that far, but just so that we can get that additional stretch, you might feel that it goes a little bit more into the shoulder. And then from here, we're just going to take that left hand to the lower back. So you're pulling your elbow slightly behind you, but I don't want you to press the elbow so much that you then start rounding through the spine. So you're still keeping the ribs pulled towards the hips, and you're just slightly pressing that left elbow back. From here, I want you to keep your ear as close to your right shoulder as you can. Just look down to the outside of your right thigh. And we're just going to hold it here for a couple more breaths. Nice steady inhales and exhales. Lovely. Slowly turn your head, look forward, release the arm, come back to center. Got a little bit stuck on my L's there, but never mind. Drop your head over to the left. And again, take the time to reset yourself here. So make sure you're lifting the spine tall, you're not slumping down. You're engaging through the core, slightly tucking the tailbone under, so we're not coming into that anterior tilt. You're squeezing the shoulder blades towards each other, and you're just allowing your head to drop to the left. If you want more of a stretch, you can always walk your fingertips out, increase that stretch slightly. But wherever you are, we're just going to hold it here for 2 more breaths. We're then going to take that right hand to the lower back, point the elbow behind you, try not to arch through the back here, so you're keeping your core nice and strong. Keep pressing the elbow away. We're not looking for huge in the front of the shoulder. And then I want you to keep your left ear towards your shoulder. Just look down to the outside of the left thigh. One more breath here. And then slowly lift the head up, release the arm. You can adjust if you're sitting in a cross-leg position and you're regretting that choice, just kick the legs out in front. I want you to make sure that you're comfortable and that you can keep that spine tall. In these exercises, you want your main focus to be the exercise, not necessarily having to keep yourself in that upright position. So kick the legs out straight if you have to. From here, you're just going to tuck your chin towards your chest. So there might be like an urge to kind of allow the spine to sink here, but you want to keep that spine elevated, and we're just dropping the chin towards the chest. You might not feel a stretch here. All we're trying to work is that posterior chain, so the back line of the body. Keep the head nice and heavy. You're going to look to the outside of the right thigh, pulling that left shoulder back. We're then going to lift the head up, look over the right shoulder, still pull that opposite shoulder back. With your chin, half circle all the way over to the left. Now pull that right shoulder back. Drop the head down, look to the outside of the thigh, and then slowly come back to center. So we're going to reverse that. So just remember, as you move the head, keep those shoulders nice and straight in the same line as each other. So we're going to reverse it. So look to the outside of your left thigh, pull in the opposite shoulder back. Keep that engagement in the upper back as you lift the head, look over the shoulder. Half circle over to the opposite side. Drop the head down, look to the outside of the right thigh. Come back to center. One more breath here. Lovely. Lift the head, look up. So we're just going to work a little bit of internal, external rotation of the arms. So we're going to start with the arms going out towards the side. So you're making a T shape with the upper body. You want to make sure that your hands are in line with the shoulders or near enough. Try not to take them past the shoulders. You've got to turn your right hand up, left hand down. I want you to bring as much movement as much as you can. So you're taking the arms in the opposite direction towards each other, and then you've got to switch. And you've got to try and reach the fingertips away from each other as much as you possibly can. Now you might find that again, you come into that sort of lower back bend. I want you to keep that spine tall. We're not flaring through the rib cage here. We're just working through the shoulders. So try not to cheat that movement by working through the rest of the body. And try not to move the head so the head stays in line with the body. We've got two more in each direction. Lovely. And then just come back to center, drop the arms down, roll the shoulders a few times in each direction. And then we're going to take it onto all fours. So if you're on a hard ground and you know that your knees are a little bit sensitive to come into all fours position, use a towel, t-shirt, something, just pack your knees. But hands are directly underneath the shoulders, knees stay underneath the hips. Slightly turn the creases of the elbows so they're facing forward. And we're just going to take it into our standard round of cat and cow here. So chin to chest, round the spine up, really come into that angry cat position, and then drop the hips, lift the chest slightly, look forward. Now I want you to really tune in with your own rhythm of breathing here. So as you exhale round the back, as you inhale, open through the chest. And I want you to really control the whole movement here. So I don't want you just to go through momentum, because often when we use momentum, we dump too much into the lower back, and we want to keep that as protected as we can, not because it's delicate, but it's just good practice to make sure that the core is working. So just really work one vertebra at a time. Perfect. And then we're just going to get a little bit more tension in here. So good tension. So as you next round the back, try and drag your hands and knees away from each other. Encourage a little bit more rounding of the spine. And then as you come into that cow position, pull the hands and knees towards each other as we open through the ribs. So press the hands and knees away as you round the back. And then pull the hands and knees towards each other. You can tuck the toes if you feel like you get more grip that way, that's fine. But we're just going to do 3 more in each direction, keeping that tension. Awesome work. 1 more in each direction. We're then going to come back to all fours, and we're just going to take it into our child pose. So big toes together, knees out wide. I want you to, first of all, take the feet the knees as wide as you need to. Try and get your bum as close to the feet, doesn't matter if they touch or not. Hands are in line with the shoulders. Now just notice how my arms are quite far away from you. We're trying to open through the upper body. So if you're just here with your arms, we're not going to get that stretch that we're looking for. So your hands are quite far out in front, and then you're just going to sink your chest through your arms. Doesn't matter how close you get to the floor here, still think about that slight engagement of the core. So you're not trying to suck your belly in, you're just slightly trying to pull the ribs and hips towards each other, slightly pulling the belly button in. Now as you breathe, breathe into the back of the body as we get a little bit more expansion, and you might find on those exhales you sink a little bit deeper to the floor. 2 more breaths here. And then nice and slowly, we're going to press. We're going to come all the way back to all fours. And we're going to add that child pose to our cat and cow. We're going to try and make it as fluid as we possibly can. So it doesn't necessarily matter what it looks like. To start with, we're going to come into that rounded position. We're then going to drop the hips, lift the chest. Press the weight back, bum towards your feet, chin towards your chest, round back up. Drop it into that cow position. Press back, chin to chest, round up. Awesome. 4 more, all the way through. Really try and separate the shoulder blades away from each other as you come up into that top position. Lovely, last one. We're going to come into that cat position, we're going to hold it here. So draw the belly button in, really press the floor away from you, chin towards your chest. We're then just going to tuck the toes, take it up, find your down dog. If you have socks on here, just be a little bit careful that your feet don't slide. But we're just trying to press the heels as close to the floor as you possibly can. That being said, it doesn't matter if the heels touch the floor. Now, just good practice, have a look at your hands. Where your index finger and thumb meet, make sure you're firmly pressing that part of your hand down to the ground. You might notice that it wants to peel off, but we really want to evenly distribute that weight in the hands. And just allowing the weight of the head to drop here. Perfect. We're then going to find a little bit of stillness and just hold it here. So look anywhere from your knees down towards your toes. Nice steady inhales and exhales. Nice and slowly, we're going to drop the knees all the way down to the ground. Bring those shoulders over the wrists as you start lowering down. Come back into an all-4 position. We're then going to take it into thread the needle, so we're now going to try and open through the thoracic spine. So your right hand is going to stay underneath the shoulders. We're going to open the chest round to the left, send the left arm up. So use your right hand to press the floor away from you and just hold it here for a couple of breaths as we try and really rotate the chest round to the side. Now if you can, try and turn the head, look up towards that left hand. We're going to follow it as we reach all the way to the right. Keep the shoulder off the floor, just reach as far as you can. We're then going to inhale, open all the way back round to the left, look up as you reach the hand up, and then thread the arm all the way through. Lovely. 2 more. Again, no momentum here. Control every part of the movement. Nice. As you next reach through, you can either stay in this top position, just reaching the hand through, or you can lower the shoulder, the side of the head down to the ground. Press the weight through the shoulder, not the head. Right hand can stay where it is, maybe reach it to the top of the mat, or send it up to the sky, whatever feels okay. We're going to hold it here for 2 breaths. On your next exhale, right hand in front of your face, press, open all the way back round to the left. Take your left hand to the back of the head, point the elbow up, squeeze through the shoulder blades. Awesome work, release the hand, come back to all 4s. So left hand is underneath the shoulder, we're going to open to the right, send the right arm up. 1 more breath here before we start rotating. So follow the hand as you reach all the way through. And then open back up. We're trying to get those shoulders stacked on top of each other. Might not be happening today, but that's eventually where we want to go. As you next reach that arm through, you can either stay in that top position, maybe lower down to the floor. You can either keep your hand where it is, or reach the hand to the top of the mat, or reach up. Don't allow that left shoulder to drop to the floor. Still roll the shoulder back. Left hand in front of your face, press, open all the way back round. Top hand to the back of the head, point the elbow up, squeeze through the shoulder blades. Awesome, drop the hand down, come back to all fours. It's going to work a little bit into the wrists and the forearms, nothing too major. So spread the fingers nice and wide, hands are directly underneath the shoulder. With the upper body, we're just going to draw some circles. Now, although we're focusing on the wrists and the upper body, just notice what your hips are doing. If you're kind of dropping the hips to the floor here, that's fine, but I just want you to slightly draw the hips towards the ribs. Lovely, that clicking is the floor, not my knees, luckily. We're just going to draw a few circles the other way. Awesome, come back to all fours. From here, we're going to step that left foot through. Shuffle the foot between your hands, sink down into that front leg. So front foot stays nice and flat to the floor. I want you to squeeze the glutes, so you might be able to feel a little bit more of a stretch in the right hip. Perfect. Really try and press that front foot down to the ground and then try and scoop the lower belly away from that front leg. Well, they're going to rock backwards and forwards. So from here, going to rock the weight back, pull the toes towards you, and then slowly bring the weight forward. Now, as you move between these two, just notice if the weight kind of goes out to the side. You want to keep tracking in that nice straight line as you press back, and it doesn't matter how straight that front leg gets. Just feel that subtle stretch in the hamstrings. Now, as you next press back, hold it here. So point the toes towards you. You can have a bent leg or straight leg, it really doesn't matter. If you're quite flexible, try not to lock the knee, have a little bit of a soft bend. And then just check that the hips are square. So your hips are in a nice straight line. So you're not pressing the hips out to one side. And then I want you to really point the toes towards you. So we're really targeting the middle hamstring at the moment. We're going to work the other two in a second. That being said, it's not like they're not working now, but they're just not our main focus. So try not to lead this movement with your ankle. You're leading it from your top thigh. All I want you to do is roll the thigh out to the left, the foot will slightly follow. Now you might notice that the hips drop out to the right. Keep the hips square. It's never about how big that movement is, it's just making sure we're using that discipline, controlling the movement that we have. Over time, when you build more mobility, more strength, you might be able to go deeper. Slowly come back to center. Now without pressing the weight to the left, roll the thigh in. Pull the toes back, try and keep those toes in as much of a straight line as you can. Hold it here for one more breath. Slowly come back to center, flatten that front foot down to the ground. We're going to inhale, come all the way up to our low lunge, and we're going to reach the arms out in front. So again, we're going to work through the thoracic spine. So your arms are staying out in front. You want to slightly press your hips forward. So again, we're opening into that right hip, but also engaging through the core. With your right hand, you're going to open round to the right, come back to center, open round to the left. Follow that left hand as you reach back to the center, 4 more times each side. Now, when you twist across that front leg, pull the right hip forward as much as you need to. As you rotate away from the front leg, slightly press that front leg back. Don't allow it to follow round. Awesome. One more each way. So when you next go round to the left, we're just slowly going to come back to center, drop the hands down, we're going to take it back, come back to all fours. So from all fours, we're then going to take that onto the other side. So first of all, you're going to step that right foot through, place it between your hands, sink down into that front leg. So squeeze through the glutes, draw the lower belly in, and start pressing that right foot down into the floor. One more breath here. We're then going to start rocking it back, so point the toes back towards you and then rock forward. Try and keep that movement in a nice straight line. You're not kind of veering out to the side as you move. As you next take it back, hold it here. So I want you to really focus more on flexing the foot than how straight that front leg is. If this side hasn't got as much movement as the other side, that's fine. Try not to force it. Just take it for what it is, work with what you've got. Have a quick check, make sure you're squaring through the hips. And even in this position, you want that scoop of the lower belly. Now really pull the toes back towards you. Breathe into wherever you feel that tightness, that restriction. And then from your thigh, just roll the thigh out to the right. Still point the toes back towards you. So external rotation of the femur. We're going to come all the way back to center. Roll the thigh in, internal rotation. If you're rolling the thigh in and your bum's kind of scooting out to the right, you've took it a little bit too far. So it's just rolling that thigh bone into the hip socket. Come back to center, flatten the foot to the floor, inhale, come up, find your low lunge, press the hips forward, reach the arms forward. From here, rotate round as far as you possibly can, follow that left arm, come back to center, rotate round across that front leg. Perfect. As you open away from that front leg, make sure that right thigh doesn't follow you round. You're slightly pressing it out to the side. When you come back to center, make sure you're pressing the hips forward for a slight reset before you're then rotating back round. Lovely. We're going to do one more each way. Come back to center, drop the hands down, send that right leg back. Awesome work. So we're going to work a little bit more into the shoulders. We're going to come into our hovers. So you can either do this seated in a low kneeling position like I have, or you can come up into a high kneeling position. If you've opted for this option, try and have it so that you're tucking your tailbone under. You're not pressing your bum right behind you, you're engaging through the core. Or you can even come into that staff position of where you kick your legs out in front, spine's nice and tall. So to start with, we're going to start with our hands at the back of the head. So don't interlock the fingers, just one hand is stacked on top. So I'll just show you first of all. And I want you to try and squeeze the elbows behind you. Now what will happen here is the rib cage will slightly lift in order for that movement to increase. But what I want you to do is keep the ribs down. So we're really strictly just working through the shoulders. Now from here, I want you to engage through the core, squeeze the upper back, try and float the hands off the back of the head. Now try not to press the head too far forward here. Head remains in the same line as the rest of the spine. And then all I want you to do is send your arms up, make a Y shape. Bend at the elbows, hold and hover the hands off the back of the head. Lovely. Send the arms up, make that Y shape. Shoulders come up towards your ears as you reach up. Bend at the elbows, point the elbows back, hold and hover off the back of the head. Lovely. Reach the arms up, don't lift the ribs, just the arms. Take the hands back down, squeeze the elbows, nice and strict. Keep the ribs down. One more. Reach the arms up. Bend at the elbows, point the elbows back. Now, engaging through the core, squeeze through the upper muscles. I want you to try and take the elbows back a little bit more. Keep the head in line with the rest of the spine. Don't allow it to push forward. One more time. Can you get a little bit more movement, even if it's just a millimeter? Hold it here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Relax. Roll the shoulders if you need to. If you held your breath there, take a few steady inhales and exhales. We're going to do the same movement, but we're going to focus with the hands being on the lower back. So whenever we're working over arm reach or just shoulder work, sometimes in order to come into that movement, the rest of the body will try and get involved. Now this is quite an exaggeration of over arm reach, but what I'm doing is I'm pushing my bum behind me, lifting through my ribs. We just want that movement to come through the shoulders, and we're trying to be really disciplined with the rest of the body. So never get hooked up on how big a movement you've got. Just keep focused on keeping that discipline, keeping that strict form. Everything else will unlock eventually, I promise you that. Now, for this one, hands stacked at your lower back. Doesn't matter which hand stacked on top, we've all got one that we'll just naturally do. So again, think, squeeze the elbows back first without moving anything else in the body. So we're just going to hold it here for a breath, and then we're going to hover the hands off. Doesn't matter how far they hover, doesn't matter if they hover at all. From here, you're going to reach back, palms face in, reach back. Doesn't have to be high, you just want to make sure that you're not leaning forward, so shoulders are stacked on top of hips. You're then going to bend, hold and hover the hands off the lower back. Extend the arms out, palms face in. Squeeze through the shoulders as you bend the elbows. Point the elbows back, keep the ribs down. Awesome, 2 more. Reach the arms back, squeeze the armpits here. Bend the arms, take the hands to the lower back, hold and hover. Awesome, reach the hands back. Bend, bring it in, hold it here. Now see if without lifting the ribs, can you point your elbows back a little bit more? This is super difficult. One more time, any more movement will take it. Hold it here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Awesome work, really good. A few roll of the shoulders here, a few in each direction. And then whatever position you're in now, you're going to make your way back onto all fours. We're going to work a little bit more into the hips and the glute area. So we're going to come back to our all fours position. So spread the fingers nice and wide. Knees come back underneath the hips. So we're going to do our knee taps. So we're just working true hip extension. So again, when I come into this big movement of where my knee's really high up, I'm actually taking that into a back bend. So I'm using my lower back to cheat. You want to take it into that position of where you're in that neutral position of the spine. Focus on squeezing the foot towards the bum. Nice and slowly, nice and controlled, lower the knee down. Don't have to touch the floor, then lift up. The key here is when you lift the knee up, you're being very disciplined that you're not changing the rest of the body, so that you're keeping the hips nice and neutral, keeping the core strong. Now, if you're really finding it hard to not tilt your pelvis, round the shoulders up, come into that cat position, that just naturally tucks that tailbone under. We're just going to do 2 more taps. As you next lift the knee, hold it here. Squeeze the foot towards the bum. Press the shoulder blades away from each other. Make sure that core switched on. Hold it here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Drop it down. Perfect. If you need to take a little bit of pressure off your hands, do so. But then we're just going to take that onto the other side. So set the arms up. Make sure that right knee's underneath the hip. When you're ready, left knee comes off the floor without coming into that back bend. Nice and slowly tap the knee down, lift up. Now, how close your foot is to your bum doesn't matter. You just want to keep that hamstring engaged, get that tension through by trying to drive your foot towards your bum. Awesome, 2 more. As you next lift up, that's when we're going to hold it. So squeeze the foot towards the bum as much as you possibly can. Imagine you've got a ball behind the back of the knee. Squeeze it. Shoulder blades away from each other. Hold it here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lovely, drop it down. Take the weight off the hands. Give them a little bit of a shake if they feel a bit achy. And then from here, we're going to continue with the hips. We're going to take it into our hip calves. So now all we're going to do is draw some circles with our hips. How big those circles are, it doesn't matter. How controlled those circles are is what matters. So you might find that when you take the knee out to the side, I'll show you the movement in a second, that when you take the knee out to the side, your whole body will want to go with it. You want to keep that neutral position. It is literally just the ball and the socket of the hip that we're trying to work. So you're going to find that all 4 position. We're going to take the right knee off the floor, squeeze the foot towards the bum. Take the knee out to the side, chest faces down to the ground. Draw the knee underneath, lift the knee back up. Nice, nice and controlled. There's no swaying of the body. Again, if you're finding it hard to control your lower back here, round the spine up. Awesome work. How high you lift that knee up, really fight for it. Make the chest is facing down. We're going to do 2 more. Now when you next take the knee out to the side, hold it here. Doesn't matter how high. Hold it here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lovely. Draw the knee in. Whew, have a little bit of a breather, and then we'll take it onto the other side. So one side might be wildly different to the other. That's perfectly fine. The key is just to work with what you've got. You don't want to force yourself into any other like random positions that the body doesn't want to be in. So I'm going to turn round so that I can show you this side. Set yourself back up into that all fours position. Left knee comes off the floor. Keeping the chest down, draw the knee underneath. Back round, out to the side, underneath. Imagine you've got a marker pen on that left knee and you're trying to draw a circle. Awesome. 3 more. As you next take that knee out, hold it here. Fight gravity, press your hands into the ground for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Draw the knee in. Nice. Perfect. So from here, we'll do a little bit more work on the spine. So we're going to lie down on the ground. So if you haven't got a mat, maybe use a towel. If you know that like your hips are quite bony, that's fine. Maybe just roll up a towel, can just be a tea towel, just make sure it's underneath the hips, just make it a little bit more comfortable. But when you're ready, you're going to lower yourself all the way down to the ground. So our starting point here is your feet are going to be in line with the hips, and you're going to have your arms stacked on top of each other. You're going to rest your head down on top. So your head is going to stay down on this exercise. We're just going to focus on the lower part of our body to start. So head remains in contact with whatever wrist it's touching or hand. But what I want you to do is really recruit the muscles in the legs here. You want to start off with your feet hip width apart, and you want to have it so your heels are pointing up. So don't allow your heels to kind of cave out to the side. Heels are pointing up towards the ceiling. Now squeeze the glutes. Squeeze the thighs, pick that right foot off the floor. Doesn't have to be high, you want to keep your hips square. So that basically means your right hip isn't coming off the floor, your hips are staying down. Point the toes away from you, lower the leg down, press the right foot down, pick the left foot up. And we're just going to march from side to side, keeping the head down. So we're not trying to lift the leg as high as we possibly can because we want those hips to stay down on the ground. So we're just trying to elongate through the legs. Keep that activation in the glutes, the thighs. One more, each leg. Perfect. Now as you next lower that left leg down, you allow the body to relax. So the feet can roll out to the side. Just hold a few breaths here. Don't hold a few breaths, just hold it for a few breaths. And then we'll continue. And we're going to focus a little bit more on the upper part of the body now. So our starting point is going to be forehead or chin to the mat. Hands are going to be interlocked behind the back of the head. Elbows are going to be resting down on the ground. The sound quality might be a bit rubbish now, but that's just how it is when I'm in this position. Now, legs are going to stay down on the ground this time. So again, make sure your heels are pointing up. Squeeze your glutes, engage through the quads. Keep the legs pressed down. As you next inhale, lift the head, lift the elbows. Nice and slowly lower yourself down, one rib at a time. Press the elbows into the floor. Hold it here for a breath. And then nice and slowly come back up, lift the head, lift the arms. Control lowering that down, press the elbows down. Now as you come up, try and think more about creating length than coming into a back bend. So we're not trying to fold ourselves in half, we're just trying to lengthen through the spine. So as you next inhale, lift the head, lift the arms, press the legs down into the ground, squeeze the glutes, and nice and slowly lower down. Perfect, 2 more. Inhale, come up. Exhale, lower. 1 more time, slowly come up. Hold it here, squeeze the hips to the floor, press the head away from the bum. Hold it here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lovely. Slowly lower down. Have a little bit of a rest here. Come into whatever position that you need to. You're holding your breath again. Try and bring it back to a nice steady inhale and exhale. And then all we're going to do is we're going to finish up with a few hovers in this position here. So hovers when lying down is really good because basically you've got the floor as feedback. So as soon as you feel like you'll be able to feel your ribs and your hips drift away from the mat. So it's a really good feedback tool to do these down on the floor because it just helps you keep that neutral spine, that neutral position. So we're actually going to link the hovers together. We're going to do 5 in total. So we're going to do top hovers into lower hovers, back 5 times. So our starting position is forehead to the mat, hands stacked on top of each other at the back of the head. Recruit the legs, drive the tops of the feet down into the ground. Now head stays down on the ground for this one. Very key thing, it's just the arms that we're moving. So when you're ready, hover the hands off the head, lift the elbows up. From here, make a Y shape with your arms. Now turn your palms up to the sky, reach your arms all the way to the back of the mat or to the back of you, and then bend at the elbows, hold and hover the hands off your lower back. Lovely. Extend the arms out, reach to your feet. Turn the palms round, reach the arms forward, and then bend at the elbows, hands to the back of the head, lift the elbows up. Keep the head down, squeeze through the glutes, engage through the core. Make that Y shape with the arms. Turn the palms up, rotate the arms round. Bend at the elbows, take your hands to your lower back. Hold and hover. Reach the arms to your feet. Turn the palms, reach all the way up. So you need to scoot over, keep hitting the table leg. Take the hands to the back of the head, point the elbows up. Lovely, make that Y shape. Turn the palms round, reach all the way back. Hold and hover the hands off the lower back. Lovely, reach to your feet, come all the way to the front. Bend, hover the hands off the back of the head. One more time, make that Y shape. Turn the palms round, reach back. Bend the elbows, point the elbows up. Reach to the feet, turn the palms round, reach up. Bend the elbows, hold and hover here. Squeeze through the glutes, engage the muscles in the body, point the elbows up for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Drop the hands down. Awesome work. From here, make a pillow with your arms, rest your head on top. Kick your feet off the floor, reverse windscreen wipers, just drop your feet from one side to the other. Feet definitely don't have to touch the floor, just trying to keep the head down as we isolate through the lower back. Give the little back a nice little wiggle through. Then I'm going to come back to center, drop the feet down, lift the head up, hands underneath the shoulders. We're going to press, take it all the way back, take it back into that child pose. Really trying to allow the armpits, the chest to melt down to the floor. Press the bum towards your feet, get that slight stretch opening in the lower back. Awesome, and then nice and slowly, just lift yourself up. Awesome work. So that's our session done today. Hopefully you feel like you've worked through the body a little bit, that you've got a little bit more movement. So let me know how you get on, but hopefully see you on your mat soon.